So thanks for joining us again. So last time we left it at the founder. We sort of like hinted and we talked about like maybe the founder is something that we should talk about today. Again, I am with Sumit. So if you've not watched the first episode, you should watch the first episode where we talked about the ideation. That is the idea that you have about running a business. And so Sumit, we most of the time when people talk about startups or running any business, most people forget to talk about the founder, the person, or the co-founder. So first of all, I have the idea, I am going to change the world. I have my reasons for running the startup. I want to be rich, I want to move to this neighborhood, I want to make all this money, I want to change the world, whatever reason I have. Do I need someone really? Do you think I really need someone? Is it something that I should say?
If you look at interestingly how companies look at the big companies that are successful now, they have co-founders. You might not hear about them. They might be at the background. They might be the guy at the back you never hear about. I'll give you an example. Look at Google, Microsoft. They all had co-founders, and they might not necessarily be in the limelight, take the lead, but they are actually important. And the reason I say that, something I think I mentioned in the previous episode, is perspectives.
Yeah.
So we as human beings are limited to what we're exposed to, what we see as individuals. And so I think having a co-founder is important because they give you a whole different perspective of things. So, I've come across startups where, one founder is a guy with a background in, say, legal or a background in finance. And you're here going to start a tech company. How do you get someone else who can complement the skill that you have? Because you're skilled, you have your strengths in one place, and you want the other person to really complement the work that you do. So I think, yes, it is important to have a co-founder. Now, definitely, as you grow the company, you might want to decide, who's the face of the company and the other guy, what they do. But I think, definitely.
Do you think we should have that conversation on this person is going to be the face of the company, this person is not going to be the face of the company?
It is very important. You don't want a situation where at some point, and it's also important to, once you have clarity on what you want to do and the vision, it's good to have one person communicate, but also share that vision. So you don't want a situation where this one founder tells a very different vision and story about what you guys want to do, and you tell a very different thing. So I think, having one person who's the face of the company and communicates, I think is important. And guys, please don't crucify me. I am not an expert. I have not been doing this for 100 years. So these are just thoughts and experiences from from what I've seen. I think it is important to decide who's at the front.
I can actually share experience. I think when I was
you've founded a bunch of companies.
Yes, so I've founded a bunch of them, and I'll tell you that you actually have a point there, because having someone to be the face of it, because I've never been the guy who wants to be the face of anything. In fact, most people just make fun of me and tell me, dude, why do you like being an orchestrator in the background? You're controlling everything. But I'm like, I'm comfortable with that. I don't want to be seen out there. I'm okay with someone that's being seen. And I think that helps, because what you've said, one person can always say the same thing over and over. Occasionally they might ask you to go and like, no, Frank, we want you to come and talk. And at that time you really try and push for the other person to go and talk. But if the other person can't go, it's good for you to show up and do that. And I think the beauty of this is that, apart from in addition to what you said on like having this consistent message being shared by one consistent person, the other thing is it gives the other person there's a reason why maybe they do not want to be the face of it. It's going to focus on other things. And so I think that's actually something that's really important.
You mentioned something interesting. I think you also want to look at strengths.
Yeah.
So in this case, I'll give you my personal example. I discovered, over time, and it takes time, that I'm not the guy who's going to go start a big startup. I'm good at sitting at the back and actually scaling and building out stuff. So yes, as much as I speak a lot at events, when it comes to building a company, I want someone else to, be the face of that company. I want to be the guy at the back who, drives things. So it kind of, as co-founders, playing on each other's strengths. Because as you said, you're not the guy to go speak, and maybe it's not something you enjoy. So definitely, I think, that clarity of, you go be the face of the company, you go communicate, that it plays on someone's strength. Not everyone is a good speaker. Not everyone can present. because I think you've seen in my past I've come across what I call pitch entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
The guys who are amazing.
Yeah,
at pitching.
exactly.
But when you now start digging deep into the
Yeah.
part, you realize, oh wait, they'll say, oh no, speak to this person.
Yeah.
So I think it's playing on each other's strengths.
Yeah, which is a good. And then the other thing is maybe to like check it deeper. Is we have startups, we have all of this. So now I'm looking for founder. We're doing like all this founder dating, and so I've gotten my founder. First of all, is I think people who are probably wondering like, what should I look for? Is just look for the person who will complement you. Most of the time, we have this tendency to go with, oh, this person is the same, this person is the same. I like this person, the way they talk, they sound to me. I think one of the things to also talk about is when you're looking for someone to complement you, is be harsh in your analysis. Be harsh in your analysis in that you're looking for someone who, I like this, giving this example of running a company is like a marriage, where you start a marriage with a kid.
Yeah.
And you've not known your partner. And so you'll be learning about your partner, you'll be learning about this child that has dropped. And you're like, oh my God, this child does not have my DNA. And some days you're like, it is like my child. Some other days you wake up and you're like, I need to go for a DNA test.
It's a very, very interesting example.
Yeah.
I
So
love what to hear what the guys in the comments will have to say about that.
exactly. So that's the thing. And so I feel like you need to be very honest with this person and ask them, hey, as a human being, what are your values? And for me, I think I'll actually look at value system more than anything. Value system is like everything, and then they need to complement what I do. And so as you're doing your founder dating, and now you've gotten your founder now, do you think they're like, is it important for us to get into like all these agreements? I mean, we are passionate, we want to build them. Should we get into agreements? Should we write it down? Should we tell ourselves, hey, this document is going to hold us accountable?
Spot on, and I think I'll even emphasize on the last thing you said, accountability. It is very important as you go ahead and find this other person who will complement your business, to have very clear communication and clear understanding of why both of you are doing this, and sort of just as the passion, but also being very clear around, we are building a business. And it's very different from, it's good to have a friend if you can find a friend who shares your vision, but at some point, when things get tough, you kind of have to be tough on each other. I always say, if you look at being a founder, also has its challenges, and one of the things you come across that a key quality that you want to have in a founder, especially if that person is going to take the limelight, is leadership. Leadership is not for everyone. I know you could be a founder. There's one of my colleagues always says, there's a difference between a manager and a leader. And I've soon come to realize, a leader will help drive a lot of things, not only your vision, but the team, the structure, how your company behaves. And so if you have your co-founder who at some point do not respect each other's, capabilities, or your other co-founder, then at some point you start clashing. And so having that clarity of, this is a business and not a friendship. It could be a friend, but you have to kind of create that clear boundary around, there's what's friendship, and we can be friends, but we're running a business. And I think that's the thing people forget. When you're starting that startup, it's a business. It's not some fun thing we're doing, and I know some people build startups for the fun and the hype of it, but that clarity of, this is what we're doing, these are the boundaries, this is what we agree on, is very important, even as you go and find that founder.
I think there's something that I probably add on that, and I don't know whether it would look like different or the same, but it's more, in as much as you're running the company, you say like this is a business. I think even if you're friends or not friends, one of the most important things that there's also a trait you need to have on top of understanding each other is that communication, as you alluded to it, because that communication is what helps when you guys are having trouble. That communication is what helps when the two of you are having an issue and you're like, I'm not gonna sleep until you sort this thing out. Like, dude, where are you? You're in the house, okay, I'm willing to come, let's meet, let's have dinner or something, and let's tackle this. And I think do not shy away. One thing I've learned very highly is don't shy away from confrontation.
Oh yes.
Because that confrontation is really important. Like,
It is.
Talk about it, deal with it, and
You're gonna get into tough spaces, just like a marriage.
Exactly.
And I think that marriage is becoming a whole thing. Just like a marriage, you hit your bumps, you get to those rough patches, and you have to figure out, and I think one of the qualities of any company or leader is resilience.
Yeah.
So that resilience of, can we make it through this? Can we fix this thing?
Mm.
You don't want to build a startup with someone who the first sign of trouble, they're gone.
He's running away. And,
Yeah.
or like there's this like brooding that's happening within the company, and people are just like angry at each other. Like, okay, I'm gonna talk to that person.
Because it's not gonna be smooth sailing often. It's
Yeah.
gonna be hard. You're gonna hit tough times. The times you're gonna go and you sit down and you wonder, can I make payroll? At the end of the month.
Yeah.
And so you need somebody who's also very resilient. And
Yeah.
that very clear communication between the two of you, understanding, clarity is really, and the idea that you're able to actually handle confrontation is very key.
That's actually true. And so now there's the whole bit of like agreements and stuff. Guys have talked about, I've heard of like vesting agreements, like you vest your shares. So that's, the guys who don't know what it is, it's like we start a company 50-50, but then we say you're actually going to get to 50% after 2 years when we accomplish the full goal, 2 years or 2 years into the business, or after we reach this milestone. And so it's like your shares, you're owning the shares, is staggered out over a period of time. And so I have become a fan of that, where I tell someone that's fine. We're going to start this company. We start at 0. We get to this milestone, we've moved to 10%. We get to this milestone, you're going to 20%. And I think that gives people the encouragement to stay there till you see yourself.
And not just the encouragement. I know a lot of people would think, oh, maybe you don't trust me, but I think it's a very good way of holding each other accountable.
Yeah.
Holding each other accountable of saying, hey, we're actually serious about driving this business, so this is how we're going to structure how we invest in business. Because then I know that, hey, for me to, to get to a certain point, I have to put in the work. So I think it is actually a very good way of holding each other accountable.
Exactly. And then also the other thing is on the legal bit also. I mean, don't any agreement you ever get into, I think it's good if you have it written down. Because most of the time we ignore these things, and I'll tell you, they actually come to help you later on. Because it'll really help you, even in terms of ownerships, in terms of like effort put in and stuff like that. So I would actually say having all these agreements is really important.
Having it written down,
Yeah.
and even if you have to draft it through a lawyer, please do that, because that's one way of you're being very clear on communication and being very it brings around clarity and a very good understanding of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important to have things written down. And that's why lawyers exist. I mean, this is put the things on paper.
It's true. It's true. And so I think, having talked about the whole co-founder person, and I think as a founder, just in conclusion, is you need to be really resilient. That I think we'll agree on. And you need to also have this clarity of vision, like this is what I want to do, and then you need to be willing to get in and dirtify yourself in conversation.
Dig into the exact.
Exactly. And I think the other very important thing is now the team, which I think we need to look at in the next episode, right?
That's a very
yeah, because the team is what now helps to drive that vision. So I think guys will join us in the next episode to just find out about teams and stuff, right?